Good day to you, Mandragora fans. Woke up today to a quite extensive patch 1.4. We're going to be digging into it and actually just seeing exactly what's been put in here. But this is the biggest patch to date for the game, and I don't know, just skimming over it, it really looks like they listened to the community quite a bit and fixed a lot of things. So let's kind of go over things really quickly here. So patch 1.4 released earlier today, or is releasing today, maybe. I don't know. It's out soon. Today is currently the 23rd. It's way too early in the morning for me as well. But anyway, we have a new difficulty, modifiers, and additional checkpoints set up here. So the new difficulty modifiers, enemies' health and enemy damage difficulty settings can now be adjusted between 40% and 160%. So this is a good thing. This is something I was kind of hoping was going to be on launch. When I first seen difficulty sliders, I was like, oh my goodness, like, you know, you can make it harder. This is great. Like on a slider, no less, instead of, you know, just easy, normal, hard kind of thing. So I really like this. Stamina cost difficulty settings can now be adjusted between 40% and 100%. Okay. Characters, Rhys is now back for everyone and can no longer leave. He was apparently dying on playthroughs near the end and just was gone. Never had that happen to me, but, you know, there's a lot of people that I've seen in the subreddit that were complaining about that. So navigation changes. This one's huge. This is a lot of complaints I've seen online with this game. They took it to heart. The company took it to heart. They fixed a lot of things. So new witch stones have been added to the following areas: Gloomroot Woods, Mining Outpost, Forsaken Mine vertical shafts before the boss and before the final boss. After reaching the boss in a rift, a shortcut portal will become available at the start of the rift, allowing direct access to the boss. So if you're dying in a rift a lot to a boss, which fairly common because the difficulty spike was kind of crazy, now you can just go directly back and re-challenge the boss. I think that's a really positive change. Rifts needed some changes. Players now respawn inside the entropy corridor instead of outside the entrance to prevent double loading screens. A new shortcut is available to the Theater Witchstone before the Marionette's boss fight, so they added another one. And another shortcut has been added right before the Tomb Mistress. So there you go. No more running back to these bosses, so hopefully that makes some players happy. Game improvements and balance changes. Let's see what we've got here. I didn't read any of this as I was putting this up on the website. So, bosses, enemies, and hazards. Death Essence can now be recovered before starting a boss fight. This is really good because I've had a few occasions myself where I get into a boss fight, I go to grab my souls back or my essence back, and I just get kind of mollywopped before I get to it, lose the essence. That's not going to happen anymore. Telegraph effects for the final boss encounter have been updated. They were fairly quick, I'll say that. Air Stagger has been removed in Phase 2 of the final boss encounter. That's a good thing. Witch Lantern Recharge now begins sooner and refills faster during the final boss encounter, so healing up Mandragora in the final fight is better now. Final boss health and resistance slightly reduced in Phase 2. The Fang Executioner's Blood Wave and Dagger Throw will not overlap in Phase 2. Poison and bleed resistance of the marionettes and the ferrymen have been decreased. You know, that's kind of good. We were doing our Let's Play, and the ferryman was one of the first bosses that we bumped into on our Nightshade. That was just like, it felt like it took forever because its poison resistance was so high. It didn't make it a long, hard fight. It just made it a long fight. Poison and bleed resistance decreased for the following mini bosses: Caretakers and Mandragores. I like this. Banshees outside of the haunted house now respawn, so we can finally finish that bestiary bestiary log. Reduce the damage of the spring trap. I think reducing damage of all traps would be a welcome change. No one likes those things. Let's see here. A few enemies have been added to Briar Castle, Drakenden Citadel, and Crimson City. I'm excited to see what this means. Poison resistance slightly decreased for the following enemies: Corrupted Dryad, Hollowplate Sentinel, and Fireplate Sentinel. So I haven't actually updated these yet, but if you're curious about this, let's see. We'll go here. We're going to keep our place here, but the reason for this is because of, let's see if we can find Fireplate. Here we go. So this is what it used to be for Fireplate Sentinel. This is why they nerfed it, because if you were bleed and poison or either or kind of build, these things were kind of a struggle. Like it took a while to kill these things. So very positive change there. I don't mind it. I'm good with it. Damage of late game gremlins has been reduced. Apparently gremlins were hard. Health of the Chthonic Stalker and the Forgotten Catacombs has been decreased. Okay. Explosion damage of the Rotburst carcasses has been decreased. The health of the following late game enemies has been reduced. Oh. Crimson Halberdier. I think I'm saying that name right. Night Stalkers, Hollowplate Sentinels, Sanguine Assassins, Corrupted Dryads, and Zealots. Wow. Well, Zealots already kind of died fairly quickly at the end, but okay. That's an overall nerf. Reduce the damage and stagger effect of the Zealot. Okay, this is definitely something we have to talk about. The damage of the Zealot was actually insane. This is the enemy at the very end of the game. I mean, it's in Crimson City. Let's see here. I'll go all the way down here to the Zealot. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the caster guy. And he creates this like void AoE on both sides of him. And if you're standing melee range when he starts this, it is very, very possible that you just die. So, yeah, the Zealot is... It's a very welcome change. Apparently, the stagger effect of it got reduced as well. I don't know. The Glacial Orb will no longer damage the player multiple times in close range. I talked about this in our Let's Play. The Glacial Orb is the little eyeball in Drakenden Citadel that would shoot out like in all directions an ice orb, or I'm sorry, ice shards. And then we had a moment on stream where this thing actually one-shot us because we were melee range, like right up on it. And when it did it hit us like with all of them at once. That's fixed. So that's good. That was pretty rowdy. Decrease the health and damage of skeletons in Lockmere Village and Briar Castle. That's good because especially the crossbow skeletons, oh my goodness. They hit hard. Decrease the damage of Sanguine Assassin, Hollowplate Sentinel, Striga, Bloodbound Archer, Magic Books, and Blood Eye at Briar Castle right wing. Apparently they did more damage on the right wing than the left. Draconic Scorcher, Flame Breath is now affected by iframe. Thank goodness. This was huge. Again, in our Let's Play that I'm playing through, I was telling people as a tip, before the flame comes out, before you even think the flame is coming out, you better roll through this thing because it's gonna tickle you with the flame breath, which sets burn on you. Okay, this is a very positive change. Banshees can't damage skeleton enemies anymore. 0 out of 10. Never playing again. Cave Snatchers and Zombies can't damage each other anymore. Again, 0 out of 10. No longer playing game. Positive. Game improvements and balance changes. This is big. I think a lot of people will be happy with this. They did a good job with this. Crafting and vendors. This is another big deal. Crafting level requirements for mana and major mana potions have been decreased. Good. Crafting cost and shop prices for several items have been decreased. So this wasn't really... You didn't really notice this unless you were going for 100%, but when you started crafting everything in the game to get your item logs filled out, oh my goodness. Like, you're talking like 600K plus or something. Like, it was a lot of money. So this is a very welcome change for those completionist out there. Vendors now offer more and stronger mana potions. Okay. Yrsa, Shirin, and Alana now require less experience from 11 to 15. Rhys requires less experience to level up over 6. And Ulfar requires less experience to level up over 11. Okay, positive. That's a good thing. Inquisitor attacks and weapons. Let's see what we got here. Spending combo points now fills Blade Dance faster. That's a flat buff for Nightshade. The Endurance attribute now grants 5 stamina per point between levels 10 and 15, up from 4. That's a huge buff, I would believe. Entropic Burst Hitbox now only hits... All right, let me reread this. Entropic Burst Hitbox now only affects the area above platforms at the final boss encounter. Pepper Mace Attack Hitbox has been adjusted so it no longer deals damage when the player is inside a boss or positioned very close to their back. Okay, that's a good thing. Also, Matron Layla has this kind of effect, but I think it's intended. Her animation with the rake attack that goes behind her a little bit. Soul Lance now has an increased precursor duration during the final boss encounter. Pyromancer's Fire Tornado Explosions duration has been decreased. No! Wait, shouldn't this be... All right, I'm a little bit confused here. Okay, I think this should go under like bosses or something. It says Inquisitor attacks and weapons, but anyway, this is how it's lined up. So Pyromancer, not Flameweaver's Fire Tornado Explosion duration. Anyway, stamina cost of the following daggers has been decreased. Ataxia, Dragonfly, Eclipse. Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Basically, most daggers in the game. Stamina and stagger values balanced, mostly buffs, for the following. One-handed weapons. So a bunch of one-handed weapons got stamina and stagger values. And as did two-handed maces and two-handed swords. So weapons across the board got some buffs. Strength scaling added to Purity and Death. Spirit requirement removed from Dragonfly. Frost Talon gained 5% crit chance. And attribute requirements for Lycan de Fury Fang of freaking have been lowered. That's a fun one to say. All right, now item quest and rewards. Increase the gold gain from several quests. And gatherable garlic has been placed on Lockmere Village. This is huge. Garlic was a struggle. Updated garlic and garlic clove tooltips to include location information. Hey, umbral mushrooms have been replaced with calendula and Old Wickham. So the yellow flower now instead of mushrooms everywhere. Significantly increase the amount of essence in some coalesced essence packs. Man, I just used mine in my playthrough. That's okay. Movement and traversal. Sprint, roll, and evade no longer consume stamina in safe zones. That's a positive thing. You can run forever now. Fall damage has been significantly reduced, and the fall distance to kill has been increased. Oh my goodness. Oh my, this is the best thing that's in the patch. Like, oh my goodness. You would literally have 0 or 1 to like 6 deaths on bosses typically. I mean, it depended if you struggled or not, right? Not shaming anybody. But for the most part, it was 1 to 5 deaths on bosses and enemies and stuff like that. And then 90 plus on gravity. Like, this is huge. This is a big change. New grab points have been added to several areas. Okay. That's going to be interesting to find. User interface, menus, and camera. Camera distance is increased in most entropy maps to provide better visibility. So that's good. Everything's going to be zoomed out. Boss and mini-boss levels are now visible on the user interface. Okay. User interface scale and HUD scale can now be individually set to normal or large size. Interesting. Sliders are now less sensitive in the options menu. Special materials collected now correctly display maximum values in the stats UI. And Nacier, the flask health upgrade plant, now has a harvested state on the map. I can't say that word. Struggles. Good changes. Visual effects. What do we got here? We're almost done. I promise. This was a big patch. Various player ability visual effects have now been updated to increase clarity of the behavior. Various enemy visual effects have been updated to increase clarity of the behavior. Okay. Multiple enemies now have more telling attack trail effects. Interesting. Dreamfield has a new visual effect. Ooh. Okay. World. What do we got here? Overall difficulty decreased in the Gloomroot Woods Entropy Corridor map. Dark areas drain significantly less from the Witch Lantern. Big buff. A new direction helper now guides the players in Entropy Rifts. Huh. So that's quite interesting. Some disappearing platforms in the Entropy have been replaced with static platforms. Entropy chests now spawn farther from the opening portals after defeating a boss. Disappearing platforms in Entropy now have a new visual effect to make it easier to distinguish before stepping on them. Thank God. A breakable wall has been removed before the elevator Witchstone in Briar Castle. These are positive changes. A lot of complaints have been about rift zones and entropy stuff. So the fact that the devs are actually listening and changing things, this is a big positive. Big positive. And then we got some bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all of the bug fixes. If you guys are interested, you can check this out here. It's also up on the subreddit as well. So if you're interested in reading everything, yourself instead of listening to me read it out to you, go check out the Mandragora subreddit, or you can go to this website here. This is actually our website that I have set up for Mandragora because there's no real information out there. We got it set up and going, and I'm trying to stay on top of everything. And well, patch 1.4 came out today, and I must say, based off of just reading it, this is huge. This is big positive for the game. A lot of complaints look like they've been addressed. Obviously, there's going to be more things to do. It's a forever thing kind of thing to keep up with balance and whatnot. But this is a big step in the right direction for this game. A lot of the complaints being like Witchstones and, rift difficulty, and even some other things I didn't even think about, reduce damage of late game enemies and stagger on late game enemies. These are big things. So big positive for this patch. I can't wait to dig in. I can't wait to start a new playthrough and see all the changes. But anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.